What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel where I talk into everything pinball, and we're going to be talking to Brian Allen. A lot of you know him, obviously, by his artwork that you've seen on the things that he's done for pinball, but he has done a lot more than that. I mean, there's a whole list I could go through, but honestly, I'm just going to put a link to his website down below for you to check out everything that he's done. As far as like a title for you, Brian, I mean, like I've got illustrator, graphic designer, creative director, or like Flyland Designs. Is that be good enough for you right there? I mean, correct me.
Yeah, I usually well, thanks for having me. I usually call myself an illustrator um, before a graphic designer. I probably put all those terms on my website just for SEO, but Illustrator works.
All right.
Flyland Designs is the name of my business. I came up with that in high school. I wish I didn't. It's not the best name in the world, but too late to change it.
I wouldn't worry about it. I think your name's already going to carry enough weight, especially going forward and everything like that. So, I mean, obviously, the catalyst for this interview is your recent art package for Funhouse, but I kind of wanted to get everybody a better idea of you because, evidently, when it comes to pinball, not a lot of people have had like an interview or discussion with you. So, I kind of want to give everybody a little bit of an idea more about you. And I've already told you earlier. And guys, if it's not already going to be pretty present, I'm kind of a little fanboy of Brian. I mean, I'm wearing one of his shirts right now,
Oh shit!
and
I didn't
I
know.
got the Aqua
I didn't
Team.
even notice that.
When I interviewed Pedretti earlier, I was wearing another one of your T-shirts. I went ahead and set these next to me right here. This is one I love that you did with the. I saw the Dr. Robotnik. I was like, I've got to have it, and then I bought three of these for my brothers and me and everything because we grew up playing Sonic the Hedgehog. So this is the thing that I also hate about you, Brian, is that you draw things and then you're like, hey, check out what I just did, and I'm like, damn it,
Yeah, I got two
now I
kids.
gotta buy a shirt of it or something or whatever.
Got two kids to feed, man.
Yeah, I understand, but I mean, and I guess I'm kind of curious. Would it be possible? And I kind of hope you don't, because then of course I'll have to buy it. But have you ever thought about like Tomb Raider stuff? Is that ever crossed your mind?
Oh, Tomb Raider. I was really big into that game back in when it was on Sega Saturn.
Mm-hmm.
Back when it was just all polygons, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd do something with that. I don't know. I gravitate more towards like the generation before that retro games,
Okay.
because I like taking things that were just pixels and then drawing them as if they were modern. There's a little more challenge to
Well,
that.
you could take her from her typical polygons
Yeah.
to something more of your style when it comes to drawing the female figure, which I honestly really love the way you draw the female figure at Kirby. That's how
Thanks.
I like my girls. So so I'm like, man, he draws them really
Yeah.
nice. So I again going back, I mean, I don't want to know all about in your entire childhood, but at some point, you had to have been saying to yourself as you're drawing in school or whatever, like, you know what, maybe I could do something with this. Maybe I've got something here. I'm like, what happened there? How did this go about?
I came from a family of artists. So my grandmother and my uncle, and even farther back, were all artists. So for me, growing up, like it was never being an artist was never seen as like this crazy idea where you couldn't make a living and like what are you thinking? It was actually encouraged. My brother Keith is also a really accomplished artist. He works at American Greetings, and him and I used to like just draw our own toys and draw our own action figures and stuff, like cut them out of cardboard. Uh, my mom, that would piss my mom off because she would actually buy real action figures and then we just wouldn't play with them. We'd go make our own. Like looking through Nintendo Power and stuff and just drawing little Mario's and Sonics and whatnot. Uh, then in high school, I had a really influential art teacher who he pushed me to kind of just just go all out and explore it, and he got me into a couple art competitions, um, and I did well there, which really surprised me because I was drawing like skulls and the typical like Iron Maiden kind of stuff that you would draw in high school back then. And that artwork went up against like beautiful pictures of flowers and vases or vases and stuff. And I won, and it was like that was the first time I realized, like, well, maybe I can just draw skulls all day and still have a job. Um, and anyway, so I graduated college in 2004, started working for a motorcycle graphics company called XGX. There, my boss was this incredible artist who used to work in the video game industry, and he taught me a lot. That was a great job too because I'm just drawing like dragons and like those ladies that you mentioned, more skulls. Um, then got a job at a book cover company, but by 2012 I had enough of my own clients that I was able to break off and work independently as an illustrator, and that's what I've been doing ever since. And eventually my wife quit her job to work with me to just help support. And if you've ever ordered anything from me like you have, she is most likely the one who packed it up and shipped it out to you.
All right. Yeah, like, so since 2012, you said you've been solo. This has
2012.
been your priority. This is your career going forward and everything. So your portfolio, like I said, guys, I'm going to put a link in the description for you to check out everything that he's done, that he's got up there on the side. A lot of it is for sale, and he has a lot of things for when it comes to t-shirts. Like, if you're an Aqua Teen Hunger Force, I saw this and I was like, damn it. I sent it to my friend, and he's like, I want one too. And I was like, all right, I'll get you one as well. So, but he's done a wide variety of things. And I see that you do have a large spectrum of things that you've drawn. It doesn't seem like, this is, like you said, I'm going to just draw only skulls. You've done a variety of things with t-shirts and promos for other kinds of shows. So you're like a freelancer, correct? So if somebody wanted work done, they could contact you via the website and you would.
For sure. And yeah, that's half of my income is from freelance, and the other half is just from products that I make and sell. And I think my earlier jobs, like the one at the book cover company, that really like instilled in me the freelance spirit of basically creating things for a customer as fast as I can and at the highest quality I can. So I've done, yeah, I do love to draw skulls, but I've also done children's books and I've done logos, and I will draw whatever interests me and whatever is needed. And I love doing that because it keeps everything fresh, and it just feels like every day is different, and I don't know year to year what I'm going to be involved in. um, Pinball probably being the perfect example because 10 years ago I had no idea that that would become such a big part of my business.
Yeah, it's like, so how did that come about? You're doing your thing, you're doing promos, you're doing freelancer stuff, and all of a sudden now you're dabbling into the pinball. So how did that come about?
That came about when Andrew Highway hired me to do the limited edition pinball backglass for Alien. So when he reached out to me, I had no idea about like the state of his company or any of that. Um, Kind of turns out that when he me to do that, 2 weeks after I finished, like his whole company went bankrupt. I pieced together now he probably was hiring me to do that to like kind of maybe as like a Hail Mary to try to get more deposits or something. I don't know. But anyway, after that experience, a lot of people in the pinball community like wanted a print of it and they wanted a backlash of it, and so I own the rights to that artwork, so I made them a copy. And then after that, people started requesting different pinball items, and me always being like an arcade and pinball fan, because I grew up in the 80s, so I was just like that was just the perfect time, the peak of that era, I think. And it just sort of one thing led to another, and then I got the license through Planetary Pinball to remake the old Williams and Bally backglasses. And I think now we've done almost 13 of them, or maybe even more.
Well, what was your first one? Was it a AFM or Attack from Mars? Was that your
It was
first one?
it was Monster Bash actually.
Okay.
a friend of mine suggested I did that, and so after Monster Bash, then people would say I, do one for Attack from Mars, and it just led to, it led to Cactus Canyon, which is probably our most popular. Um, and then the most recent one we did was No Good Gophers, and I don't know which one I'm going to work on next,
Well,
but
what's funny is that whenever I sold or traded my Cactus Canyon in,
yeah.
part of the trade was the Brian Out artwork came with it. It was he's like, well, the Brian Art's going to be on there, right? I'm like, yeah, I'll leave it on there. He's like, okay. It's
Oh,
like,
that's cool.
so that was one of the things that it's a little bit of a selling point for people. I mean, like for me, then I even said it in my review. It's like the art package for Cactus Canyon. It looked like it was a mixed bag, and whereas what you do with your back glass and everything, it yeah, I think it definitely brought it up a notch, and the art blades obviously helped that as well. And that's what I've liked about your art packages for the Williams games is that you still have what it used to be, but you've kind of like just improved upon that and added your own little touch to it and everything. And so when I think I didn't really notice it so much on Monster Bash because that was a game that I don't care for. I suck at it, so I don't like it. But whenever you got out Attack from Mars, that's when I was like, "Who did this?" I was like, because I really enjoyed that art package, and it was because it was a game that I
Oh,
really
thanks.
enjoyed, and so and from there it was a matter of just like starting to see you post other things and other items for different games and different pinball related content and everything. And so it was one of those where certain games obviously need an improvement. And so I'm definitely glad that you're into the pinball genre now, creating stuff. And as you've been here longer, you started with like translights and then you started doing art blades. And it wasn't until Theater of Magic that you actually did cabinet decals, correct?
Yeah, and I've only done that, and then I did one for No Good Gophers. And I also have one for virtual pinball machines that has like all the Williams characters on it.
Hmm.
That I was pretty happy with. Um, Cabinet wraps, I don't know how many more of those I'll do, to be honest, because they're time consuming, and they're not. You can't store them. They're hard to store, and then the demand is just not there compared to the other items. So most of this pinball stuff I'm doing like in my spare time between freelance projects, and I don't have a lot of spare time, so I have to choose very carefully on what I spend the time on, you know.
Hmm.
Um, Especially now that I'm traveling more and going to more conventions and festivals and such to sell my artwork, and that takes a big chunk of time.
I mean, I've joked around with you about it. You're talking about what machine you're going to do next. I got World Cup soccer back here. That back
Yeah.
glass is it needs it.
Well, yeah, and the problem with that, and a lot of them, like Twilight Zone and Adam's Family, they have a third party involved in the licensing.
Hmm.
So I can't do them without uh, either getting their permission or sending them money. And I have asked a few. I shouldn't. I won't give names, but there have been some companies I've reached out to, and the money that they want just for the privilege of redrawing their art and then selling it is insane,
Substantial, yeah. It's just like,
substantial. It's
yeah,
not
it's
gonna.
it's like
It's not gonna
wow,
work.
yeah. You could, but you'd have to like mark up the price, and people aren't going to pay that kind of money, especially
Yeah,
for pinball
exactly.
people, kind of
Yeah.
thing. And it's like so going from doing the cabinets for like Theater of Magic and the No Good Gophers now with Funhouse. This is your very first full blown art package for a machine, correct? So you've got back glass.
Yeah, and I have designed a few, but those projects were canceled and they'll never see the light of day. So
uh,
this is the first one that I've done, and
Come to
it's
market.
yeah, come to market. Yeah.
So like
I've often joked I could probably fill an arcade with the amount of canceled projects I've done, been a part of. Uh, but I don't know what that says about me. I don't know. Maybe I'm cursed, but
hopefully not, but like yeah,
hopefully this
so
is the break of the curse.
not just the back glass or the cabinet artwork, and then you have the speaker cabinet art package. I'm guessing you did that as well.
Yeah.
Playfield. and even the plastics for the game,
Yes.
correct?
Yep. Everything.
My
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
so
plastics were fun.
because that's what my next question was, is that, as you've progressed and done more, it's like, where do you feel like, it was a learning curve for you kind of thing?
So the learning curve always comes from, believe it or not, it's actually harder, in my opinion, to remake something than to just make something new. Like as if this was an original theme. Um, Remaking all this stuff for Funhouse was very challenging because all of these artists who did these early Williams Valley games were like, in my opinion, like the top of their game. I mean, these are masterpieces. So I have to figure out how can I modernize it, but not change it so much that it's gonna turn people off. But then, not if I don't change it enough, then like I'm just gonna be copying it. So that was one of the most challenging parts, especially with the backlash, because Pedretti wanted it to be similar, like in terms of the layout. You know, we had to have Rudy's face in the middle, and etc. So that, to me, that's the most challenging part, because I'm trying to draw characters, but I'm sort of like nailed down into what position they could be in, especially in a backlash, because the lights are in predetermined spaces.
Yeah.
Um, and that in all of my remakes, before I even start drawing, I make sure that I watch videos on where the flashes are and stuff like that, because I don't want to draw something in an awkward. I don't want like someone's crotch to light up, when it
Yeah.
shouldn't. So that's always a challenge. And then, but everything else on this Funhouse thing was just a lot of fun. They were super easy to work with. They kind of let me roll with it. I tried to add a little creepiness here and there, because that's just sort of my thing.
Rudy's always
Uh,
been creepy to me anyway,
yeah,
so, I mean,
I
you
think
adding to it,
Yeah, I think Funhouse. I mean, the whole idea, to me anyway, like a Funhouse is creepy. Like especially when you're a little kid, and you go into a hall of mirrors, or there's usually a haunted house inside of a Funhouse.
mhm.
So to me, it's
Yeah.
always been kind of weird and off-putting, and that's what I like to explore.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those where, like, I always joke about, I don't know how Brian Allen walks, because he's gotta have massive balls to be able to do what he does with these old licenses. There's not a lot of people that would go, "You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna take Tales of the Arabian Nights. I'm gonna take Theater of Magic. I'm gonna take this game, and I'm gonna change what it used to be." And I'm like, man, I would never do that, especially knowing a lot of people and how they are in this hobby. And even still to this day, there's people, I get comments or see them on Pinside or whatever, that still, they like things to be original. So that's the good thing about what they've done with this game, is that they still give people the option, if they don't like particularly like the Brian Allen art style or whatever, they can still have the original, and it's their form and everything.
Right. Yeah, and I see those comments too, and I completely understand them. The only reason I'm doing this is because of requests. I mean, I have enough people requesting that I do it, and then when I do it, there's enough of them that support it and buy it, and um, so I keep doing it. If if that wasn't there, I wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
Um, I'd be drawing something else. But the pinball community has just been so supportive of me. It's incredible. Um, it really the only I also do a lot of disc golf artwork,
Yeah. You do
and
the, yeah.
that's sort of that's an example of another community that has just been incredibly supportive and just collects like everything I do, and it's just it, I don't think I ever would have foresaw that happening 10 years ago. So I'm just really grateful for that.
It's like, I'm looking at it, and that's the thing about your art, is that if people study it, they're gonna find all kinds of little Easter eggs that you've hidden throughout stuff, and some things that
Thanks.
people pinpoint out, and I'm kinda curious about it too, is that you tend to hide characters from other Williams products in your art package. So
Yeah.
what's up with that?
Well, some of it is just trying to think of how to fill the space, right? But then I love the idea of Williams um, having a mythology to it, kind of the way like McDonald's has these characters and they all hang out, right? And that like a or an expanded universe kind of thing. So even though those games, like I drew Doctor Dude in Funhouse, you know, those games have nothing to do with each other. But I think enough time has passed that it's just really fun to mash those characters together and make them look like one big family.
Yeah, just like
And
you said, you're drawing the universe and the characters within it, kind of thing. And I totally get that, and that's why one of the your mashups, I think it was the first one you did. I was like,
yeah,
oh man, I love it. I mean, it's
thanks.
because it was. If you look at it, it's obviously you can recognize the characters. You're like, oh, that's from this game. That's from this game. That's from this game, and it's not identical to the original, but it's similar enough to where you can definitely recognize it, and you're paying homage to it by not causing insult, in my opinion, or not. I like I said, I'm gonna fanboy out because I enjoy your stuff. So, but it's always nice to look through and see the little Easter eggs and everything. So in the back glass right now, I'm just kind of going through it. I'm pretty sure that's Twilight Zone, and some of these are a little pixelated, so it's a little hard for me to pinpoint out. Bride of Pinbot up there, I'm seeing that Pinbot in the back corner back there. Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's what I like about it. If you study them, you're going to find the little things that you've just put a little time and effort into.
yeah, and I admire that era where the artists were able to just like create these new characters from nothing, and that's harder to do now since most pinball games like need to have an IP attached. So I just think that must have been such an exciting time to basically just be given a theme and like now we have to just create these characters from scratch, and they created some amazing ones, especially like I love the older era games as well, which had a lot of like weird sci-fi fantasy elements to them too.
It's like so like how do you begin something like this? Do you start with the cabinet? Do you start with the playfield? What do you like for you? What's your method, I guess, when you go through something like this?
I like to start with the backlash because it kind of sets the tone for everything else. And lately, I've just been doing the playfield last because it's to me it's the most complicated and challenging part of it. So I saved that for last because by then we kind of like know what characters are going to be featured and whatnot. Um, I'm working on something now that's just going to be a one off, but it's a original property, like not an IP, and like I think it. I'm really excited about it because they're letting me just go nuts. It's going to be I won't say too much about it, but it's going to be like a science fiction fantasy kind of space thing, and it's I love it so far. But I'm doing that as well, like doing the backlash first and then moving on to the playfield.
Okay, so it sounds like you definitely like the freedom to do what you want. Like you know what, go buck wild, show us what you got. Versus restrictions in place. You can't do this. We got to have this and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, because I think with the freelance side of things that I do, I face a lot of restrictions, and like occasionally I'll work with bigger companies that have brand requirements and whatnot. So whenever I get the chance to have more freedom, I think any artist would prefer that.
Yeah.
But I can definitely work within restrictions. Um, and some IPs have like crazy restrictions, and then others have none. Lately, I've been doing a lot of gig posters for bands. Like I just did a couple for Primus, and that's an example of a band that like they'll they
They
let me
got
do
some
whatever I
crazy
want.
looking stuff. I mean,
Like yeah, the weirder the better.
yeah.
But then you know, I've done some stuff for Metallica, and their restrictions were much harder. than that. So you never know what
And
you're
I
gonna
think that can go to the way of the person that's in, the licensor or whatever. I think if they were to let you just do what you want, I think that they don't know uh, what you could be capable of doing until they see it. Like, holy crap, I didn't think about how awesome this would be, but kind of thing. So it sucks that sometimes you're limited before you can really show them. Like, hey, I know this is. Do you ever do that? Where you're like, this is what you wanted, but I kind of sketched this a little bit of rough draft to give you an idea of what other things we could do, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I didn't do that as much when I was younger and greener, but like eventually I realized that that's actually an important part of my job, right? Like when often when people are asking me to draw something, especially if it's not an experienced art director, they may not they may not even know what they want, but they feel like they're required to tell me, so they're often relieved when I can step in and say, okay, I sketched your idea, which I think is fine, but here's something else which I think might work just as good or better. And that often works. Or I honestly too, I think it's my responsibility if someone suggests something that I just know from experience is not going to work. um, I need it. An artist needs to speak up and tell them.
Yeah.
Um,
So it's like, man, I'm looking at the play field. I'm like, and so that's why I keep looking off the screen for people that are going, "What's Cary looking at?" I'm like, "I'm scrolling through the pictures of this game because I really wish that I had some better pictures of the art blades. That's one thing I do not have." But
so
one of the
I should have
first
sent. I can send you some later. I should have sent you
Okay, yeah, because
beforehand.
that's basically the only pictures that I don't really have of what all you got unless I zoom in, and even then it's kind of blurred out. But so whenever I got in the NDA with Pedretti and he sent me the pictures of the LE cabinet, I was like, "Oh shit!" I was like,
Oh,
I
that's
gotta get
great.
a hold of Brian right now. So it was definitely curious. I'm glad that you finally got your shot to show the world a full art package. And out of curiosity, you don't have to tell me who, but are you possibly in cahoots with another manufacturer in the future for a game?
Well, with Pedretti, we were discussing another one, but and then I mentioned the one-off one, which is not with the manufacturer.
Okay.
Uh, that, yeah. Um, and then I'm working on a homebrew for someone as well.
Okay.
Going to be starting that. But I guess you would call the one off a homebrew. I hesitate to call it a homebrew because I think it's actually it's going to be manufactured in a way that I think is going to make it pretty high quality.
Okay.
Um, but but anyway, yeah, that is it. No, I reach out to the pinball companies regularly. They know who I am, and they know they know I'd love to work with them. Um, Gotten close a few times. Few things fell apart, but I'm busy enough with my other clients and the other things I do that I don't get too hung up on it.
Yeah.
Um,
Like if
if
it
there's
happens, it happens kind of thing.
yeah, if there's a project out there that's right for me, then I hope they'll give me a shot. And that's the trouble too. Is it a lot of the things coming out lately have been like John Wick is a good example, right? Like the art. I am not the artist for John Wick. Like I do more cartoony and comic book style stuff. So my style is just not right for it. So even if a pinball company thought that I was qualified to do a machine, like the style has to be just right. And
Yeah.
there's not.
And I think that's probably what it is, they're just looking for the right theme or property that would fit into what they have seen in your portfolio at this point in time. Like, and you know who would do this theme really good, stuff like. So, but yeah, definitely, even if you were to only do like Pedretti remakes and stuff like that, knowing and seeing what you've done on the game so far, it's like I'm totally behind if any of the games that are going to be coming in the future are ones that you're able to do because I think you're definitely going to pay homage to it as well as just give us something a little different in the same process of it kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, I'm still just going through the pictures, just enjoying the colors on it and the play field and stuff. I cannot wait to actually see it in person to see exactly how it looks and everything.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it in person myself. Because I have not, but I thought that the pictures and the videos they took for launch were great. I was really impressed with the way they handled all that. Um, and I hope it's being well received and it does well for them. I hope.
Yeah, so when it comes to powder coating, is that a decision that's any way or shape or form on you as well? Like you have like recommendations like, hey, you might want to go with a blue or you might want to go with a yellow or a red, or is that just on them?
No, they didn't ask me about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if they already make that decision.
Oh, the blue looks fine to me. I just
Yeah,
didn't know if it's one of those things where they happen to just reach out to you like, "Oh, with my color palette, it would probably go well with this particular color," or something like that.
yeah. No, I didn't. That might have been the guys who printed the playfield, maybe. Not sure.
Okay. But, yeah, I mean, as far as, like, questions on the art and everything, I mean, so did Pedretti reach out to you or did you reach out to him? I mean, how did the whole relationship even form?
I did something. Well, yeah, yeah. I'm not sure how many details I can. I'll just say, yeah, yeah. They did reach out to me.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's all I needed right there, like, who reached out to who kinda thing.
it was a little more. It was a little more complicated than that, but yeah, yes,
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense because then they see, that you do what you do with the remakes and they're doing remakes, so it's like, "Hey, let's reach out to them," kinda thing, and, I forgot when it was, but I did mention you to him, but it was I forgot even when it was and what it was about. It's been a while, but I remember I
oh,
was
well,
just
thank you.
anytime I can. I'm like I said, I got something else. I got to reach out to somebody after I get out the interview and talk to him. Be like, have you called him yet? Please.
Oh, I
But
appreciate that, man. Thank you.
no problem, man. I just enjoy what you do and keep doing more of it. Just not as much stuff that I have to buy. Save me on my wallet a little bit, but instead of like, hey, look what I drew, great, add to
until
cart.
until a Tomb Raider, right?
Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, I mean, as far as like anything else, I mean, like I said, the purpose of this was to mainly get, more information about you as an artist so that way people just can kind of get to know you in this hobby as well as showing off, what you've done for this game and kind of give people a little more info on going to your website and they can get your stuff there. So even all the previous games that you've done for like Williams, that's all available on your website still.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't
Yeah.
know there's a time window, like, I can only sell them for this long, so it's like, I guess you got a license locked in for.
There's no limit to that. But whenever we do a new one, we put out only a certain number of the acrylic back glasses. So, like Attack from Mars was limited to only 125 of them, and once those are gone, they're gone. But then we sell them as translights during and after that. So a lot of the titles have sold out for the back glasses. We only have a few that haven't yet, which is amazing to me. It's just incredible. Um, but yeah, we'll keep selling them until people stop buying them, I guess.
One more question on this, was any of your or do you have any art in the video assets at all? Animation?
Oh, no, no, I didn't. I wasn't involved with that. I'm not sure if they may have just used pieces from the Funhouse 2.0 kit,
Okay,
perhaps.
I didn't know if you might have had any kind of thing that they're gonna add to the code on that or potentially or whatever. So that was just kinda curious, I just wanted to see if that was in there or not.
They did have my layered file, so I guess it's possible that maybe they're going to take my art and cut it up and animate it. Perhaps that would be neat to see.
Ah. Alright, man. Yeah, I mean, thanks for coming on here. I mean, as like I said, I'm gonna put a link to your website in the description down below. If there's any other
Thanks.
kind of information that you wanna plug right now, go right ahead.
Well, yeah, if you just want to visit my website, flylanddesigns.com, come out and see me at Chicago Expo. Uh, Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not good at plugging
I
things.
know that's fine. Just
So,
like so, if people want to meet you and buy
okay.
your stuff in
Yeah.
person to get your autograph on something, they know that you're going to be at this coming expo, right? That's what you said.
Yeah, that's in October, and
Yeah.
those guys are great to me. So I'll keep coming until they tell me to stop.
All right. So that's good to hear. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this episode up with Brian Allen. I hope you enjoyed the show. Peace out,
Yeah,
everybody.
man. Yeah, great talking to you. See ya.